Hello, and welcome to the Authentically Elisa podcast, Unmasking Your True Self. I'm Elisa Bogarts, your guide on this journey to discovering the most genuine version of yourself. Each episode is a step towards unveiling the incredible power that lies within you as we strip away all the shoulds and shine a light on the coulds. Together, we'll explore the path of self-empowerment, self-confidence, and the courage to be unapologetically you. Thank you for being here. Welcome to today's episode. Let's dive in. So today we're going to be talking about how to hold others accountable without shame and by giving authentic feedback without blame. And so this is really going to be all about still be able to do all that while still standing in your truth, yet being kind at the same time. Today I have a guest with me is Eva Vennari. Reverend Eeva Vennari is the founder of the Elevate Institute and is a spiritual alchemist who focuses on removing blocks to achieving longevity and healing chronic illness in prime of life professionals. She loves to witness the character development of a person who wants to be better. Welcome, Eva.
Thanks for having me, Elisa. How are you?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Excited to be talking to you today. This is going to be such a juicy topic.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So tell us how you got into this field of work and why you're just so passionate about it.
Well, there was years and years of shoving down my own authenticity and showing up and trying to please others, people pleasing. It's a big problem. Codependency is a scourge of society. And
It is indeed. It's everywhere.
so yeah, and here's the crazy thing is I noticed in my own healing journey that people pleasing, I mean, it comes as a result of how we're trained to be for our own survival in childhood. That's one. And so I had a lot of that. I needed to people please in order to not be shamed and not be punished. I did not avoid it very well because I tend to speak up and speak my own mind, which got me into trouble a lot. But eventually that I was beat into, not physically beat, but the concept of constantly being told uh, through actions and other people's responses to me that if I don't people please, I won't get what I actually need in addition to what I want. So I was trained into this way of being. And I hear that from a lot of people. And the result of that way of life, of shoving down your true authentic self, your true authentic thoughts, what you truly believe, and your ability, having the ability to speak them, articulate them, created for me a series of chronic illnesses that ended up being 30 different symptoms. The doctor said, I can't help you with these.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll get depressed if I just name off the first 10. Well,
Yeah.
the doorway was my chronic illness. And so,
Mhm.
but with the 30 different symptoms, you have chronic fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, depression, fibromyalgia, itchy skin, heart palpitations, short-term memory loss, hypothyroidism, infertility, autoimmune disorder, you name it. There was a litany. And this occurred, the names, the labels, over a 16-year period officially, but started in my teenage years as depression, which went unrecognized and undiagnosed and untreated. So this list of things I worked on with doctors and I didn't find the answer until I was 36. So in chronic pain and having no answers that other than here, take some antidepressants from the doctors for that long.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was like there was no time to think about what to people. There was no time to think about what I needed to do as an authentic person. I was trying to survive. I felt like I was whittling away and dying every day. I'm like, wow, I'm still awake. I woke up and I'm still alive is really the internal thought around that. I didn't die overnight. I feel like I should at a very young age. So that was the doorway. The doorway was my health. And then as I found the work, because I was, like I said, blessed with insomnia up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and found this article about mineral balancing work, which is one of the main pieces of healing practice that I offer to fortify the body. And it just really resonated with me as I'm reading this article about if you give your body what it needs, it can heal itself from all of these things and they were describing, here's what it feels like if you're living in a body that is out of alignment, has too much toxins, has a lot of unhealed viruses, all these different things, a hardness in the emotions. It felt like I was constantly in PMS, my hormones were off balance. So a lot of things resonated with me, and I started to learn about this work. And the craziest thing started to happen when I started to apply the work. Emotional wounding started to clear up. I had more emotional space to process. I could now get my mind off of my physical body and look out into the world and go, oh, I have people to interact with. I should probably do that.
Yeah.
So it was a journey, and that's the how. It's a little bit of a windy road, but aren't they all? Our purpose is all revealed to us in a windy road.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. Yeah, you never kind of know what's going to happen. Yeah, or what article might pop up on your phone like 3 a.m. one night.
Yeah.
So tell me, what does authenticity mean to you?
For me, it has come to mean an unapologetically clear intention that matches how you show up in the world.
Mm, I like it. I hadn't heard it said that way before.
I like words. So yeah, for me, it's really important that what you feel has coherence with what you think, and that you take action from that place.
Yeah. And do it unapologetically because you're
Yeah,
just like so just sort of solid in it, right? And you're like, this
yeah,
is me.
yeah, yeah. And it takes a few skills to develop, especially when you came into the world with the right idea, but then it was, like I said earlier, beat into you that if you don't do what others want of you, primarily, especially as a child, then you will be punished, and things that you think that you want and you need will be taken away from you, or you just won't get them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the punishment can be in like all different kinds of way. It could just be like, yeah, it being taken away from you or being teased or
Oh,
um
constant. Yeah, bullying,
yeah,
childhood bullying, being told all the time, oh, Eva, you should be the bigger person, while the other sibling is not held responsible for their actions. I mean, that kind of
right.
stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I was the youngest. So that didn't make sense to me even then. I'm like, you're the adults and I'm the youngest, and I'm bringing this problem to you, and you're telling me to be the bigger person. Like, that not only created a lot of insecurity and a lot of confusion, but also, like, where are my parents' authenticity? And people do what they do based on what they are taught by their parents. And this isn't a blame, I'm pointing fingers. It's more like I'm learning what not to do by what I experienced.
Yeah. 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 So let's dive into that. Like talking about this, you know, giving authentic feedback and sort of like how to do that in a way where there's no shame, no blame, and sort of, I guess, really the better ways of communicating.
Yeah, I think, well, let's go back to the original comment. I said that there is so much codependence in the world. We have become normalized in its appearance, but really it's not normal, it's just common. And we've created this space where people are afraid to speak up their opinion. When I was in elementary school, I had a really wonderful set of teachers who all taught us these nuances. Here's how you tell the difference between an opinion, and here's how you tell the difference between an opinion and a fact, and here's how you deal with both of those. Like, neither you have to take personally at all. And this is something, somehow, I don't know what happened while I was busy raising kids and building a business. The whole world decided to start getting offended by opinions. So I'm like, okay, back up, everybody. Let's come back to this basic. Whenever somebody says, I think, that's an opinion. In
Yep.
personal opinion, right? That's also an opinion. And somehow that's taken as confrontation if it doesn't align with the other person's point of view. and letting that go, or deciding it doesn't matter,
Right.
the skill set seems to be missing from today's society, and it's creating so much anxiety and so much misconception about what it means to be in confrontation, and then how to deal with it. And I'm wondering if we are more in our authentic self, speak with tact about our side of the opinion, and provide upfront, this is a fact that I'm basing it on. It gives you a foundation for now we can have a discussion removed from emotion and the possibility of rejection. It's not about rejection, it's about allowing for an expansion on both sides. You both will learn something. You could both change your mind ultimately. You both could come to a whole new opinion because now you've added in some new information. And why would you deny yourself that growth?
Right. I love that. I love that. It's like, people always say, and I say it too, it's like about that having curiosity and being curious. But the way that you just said it was like, it's kind of like another way of looking at the same thing. And I like the way that you said that. Yeah. It's like, we'll understand where it's coming from and like the facts that they're basing their opinion on. And then, yeah, you can learn and you can also then share yours and do it in a dialogue. And I find it can be really hard sometimes if someone's just like, I don't like that, but they won't necessarily qualify it, or they won't,
Yeah.
there's no sort of like reason. And it's just sort of like this very sort of dismissive kind of shut down, like, we're not talking about this anymore because I don't, like that, whatever we're talking about. And it's like, well, I would like that, even if it's just like about a movie or an actor or something like that, like, well, what are you basing that on? And, why don't you like that person? And well, this is why I really like them or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And kind of have that conversation about it. Yeah. And I think that that's so true but like, how can, yeah, and I guess that's where the authentic feedback comes from. Tell us more about that. Like when you're
Yeah.
dealing with somebody like that who's just like, nope, I think this
Well,
and this is right.
what does that remind you of? And that's an honest question. If you ever been around little kids, what does that remind you of? A temper tantrum, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So then you have to consider the source of the person when they react in a way that's so emotional that they're dysregulated. And I'm not a psychologist. I just get to use, I love multisyllabic words, and that's a word in the English language that I use. So a person who's dysregulated or emotionally upset and unable to handle their own emotions, they need space. So give it to them. Give it to them. You can say something like, wow, this really seems to be affecting you. I'm going to let you sit with that for a bit. We'll come back to it if you want to, but right now I'm unavailable for this conversation to continue. And that's standing in your power. It's not rejecting, it's supportive. If anything, it's probably the very first time their space and their emotional outburst has been fully supported in an adult way, as opposed to being shut down. The reason why people continue to have temper tantrums is because they continue to be unheard.
Right.
Yeah. So if you listen for a minute, acknowledge and go, wow, this really upsets you. I can see that. It's not then becoming this place where you're rejecting them and saying, you need to go sit in the corner. You need to go in your room. They've been shut down enough. That's how they got here. So it's more about, how can I be supportive? Wow, this is really affecting you. And you have to, so the thing of the person who is, let's not call it being bigger. This is the person who is noticing that the other is having a meltdown, and kind of go, I'm going to be an observer in this, and I'm going to be supportive. I also don't have to be the one in the middle of it. You can even say, look, this doesn't appear to be my problem, if you don't have filters very well built up yet, but you can say things very nicely and still hold your space and not engage with somebody. You see Ben Shapiro do it all the time when he's, at universities, and they have little, moments of somebody who's clearly written down what they need to say in front of him. And he's had so much time and practice to get his talking points down. He doesn't need paper. He's just, bum, 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 right? That's practice. And the same thing happens for any of us, is we just need practice in holding our ground, holding space for others if needed, and then bringing up, okay, either I can, or you have to be honest with yourself, I can contribute to this, or if I argue with the person, I'm contaminating it and creating more of a trauma response. So let's not do that, and then choose the way forward. And it sounds very analytical. Kind of has to be. Kind of has to be at first. You have to sit back and go, I'm going to be an observer of this for a minute. Love myself and realize that this isn't me. This isn't my problem. This person is really having a moment that they need to sit in and decide how they want to present themselves. And you can ask them, would you like to reconsider, or would you like to reiterate that in a better way that's more respectful that I can receive? Like there's words you can use. Just we fail to use them because we get also caught off guard in the moment. And that's what takes the practice.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the key. Like when you're just like, oh, it can be hard to think in that moment when you're trying to figure out a way to respond. But how about if someone's like not having a temper tantrum? They're just like, you know, I don't like this or I don't like that, but they're trying to like stop the conversation from happening from everybody else who does like it. Because they're not necessarily having a temper tantrum. They're just sort of like expressing their opinion. But
Yeah, this is a really good one.
yeah.
I love to get strategy from shows that show success. And it's like people go, oh, there's nothing but you know, terrible things on TV. Not true. So I was watching Madam Secretary do this over and over. You ever watched that show, Madam Secretary?
No.
Oh, she does this really well. She's Secretary of State, and so she's constantly at a junction with the other countries, and she'll listen to them. So this is the strategy. It's fantastic. They have a complaint, or they want to stop the conversation and say their piece. So she lets them say it all out. Just go ahead and say it all out. And she finishes it with, "You may be right, and here's one more thing to consider." And then she gives her side of it, and it seems to.
Mm.
it, it seems to create this space of, oh, I'm finally heard,
Right.
and I'm being taken into consideration for the next set of words coming out of this person's mouth. And so part of the reason why people speak up when in the situation like you described, where it's an opposition, but there's not a temper tantrum, and it's being done in a respectful way, they too need to be heard. They need to be listened to, and then given that supportive space. When I'm speaking in front of a group, if there's somebody who wants to also speak but from their seat, I will selectively allow for the person to interject and give their feedback, because oftentimes it parlays right into what's next, and they're proving my next point. So it can be helpful. It doesn't have to be immediately a confrontation. It can be, again, a source for people to find a way to come to an agreement. An accord is what I call it.
Yeah, I love that. It's so good. And then even in those moments too, you can also ask to be listened to in return.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oftentimes, the need for interruption and no, your point is wrong, and the person, you get into argument, and that's when you need to step back and go, all right, are you sure you can have this conversation with me right now? Right. So if I can't be heard, I'm not sure that this is working. And it's the reassess the moment, in the moment,
Mhm.
as it changes, and we forget to do that.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah. Because like you can even like, even if this is like a new, uh, something new that you're practicing, this new sort of way of communication and giving feedback and listening and all that, sometimes you can be proud of yourself. You're like, oh, I did it.
Yes.
Like, yeah. And then
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh no, this isn't going where I thought it would go. I thought that, but I did it. It's like, yeah, reassess, relook at it, and maybe even practice it again and again in the same conversation.
Well, yes, and you're bringing up a really, really good point, in that we don't want to be tied to an outcome on a conversation. Why? Because we are co-creating it with whomever we are with whom. That's two prepositions. With whomever we are, then then we are creating, this outcome. And if you're both tied to two different outcomes, then you can never reconcile. But every true confrontation gives an opportunity for an even closer reconnection and a closer relationship. That's why they call it makeup sex, right? There's every time you have a confrontation or a fight, and the makeup is to have sex, you know, there's a reason for that, because when you overcome the difficulties together, you feel emotionally closer.
Mm. Other types of relationships that are not romantic that can, which
Yeah,
is
well,
really
yeah,
nice for
yeah.
you to get closer because you think that those confrontations may like put you apart, but this is a way of actually bringing you closer together.
I have a great example of that. I had somebody who is a client of mine online. I have not, let's call it a buyer. So a person who's purchased from my shop. And they were confused about something that they purchased and didn't complete the order in a way, well, properly. Let's just give it what it is. So it didn't complete the order properly, didn't choose the right shipping. And so I says, oh, hey, I'm noticing this. It's in shipping. It's going to go, but I need you to make up for the difference in this. And at first the person was perplexed. You mean you're not going to ship it? It's automatic. Oh, you mean you're not going to ship it until I pay this additional shipping fee? And I'm like, no, no, no. This is in shipping. Here's your tracking number. It's on its way to you. I just need to be made whole for the shipping difference. And they were so grateful for my prompt and complete customer service that the person gave me way more, like 12 times more than needed. He goes, this is just in case in the future, if I screw up again, my thank yous.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and that's minor. That's so minor. But if you think about it, if we customer service everybody in our lives to that level with clear communication, you're going to notice a closer relationship. It's an opportunity to bond whenever there's a problem. That's why they say turn every problem into an opportunity, from a 1990s workplace dynamic conversation. Opportunities, not problems. Yes and no. You just have to learn how to see them and how to navigate them. They're still problems until you can be creative enough to make them an opportunity.
Exactly. And I love what you just said about how you did that because you were able to hold them accountable, but without shame.
Yes.
Right. Which is, I know, like really like a thing that you really like to speak about is that, to do that. And I find that if there have been times where say I want to say something, then I actually have to stop and be like, am I shaming this person right now? Like, let's not do that. You actually don't know what went on, or like, but yeah, like how can I say this in a kinder way without blaming them or shaming them, and but still hold them accountable and still be true to me and be kind in it, but still deal with what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that there's three basic truths that somehow we have all decided is false or does not exist. And one of them is we somehow think that we're responsible for other people's emotions and state of mind.
Yep.
N-
Nope.
No, no, you're not. No. And I hear this from me, oh, Eva, I feel responsible. I can't tell them this part of the truth. Well, then that makes you a manipulator and a liar. Oh, no, it doesn't. I'm not a liar. You are right now when you're excluding this part of the truth that keeps them from making their sovereign decision.
Yes. I'm so glad that you just said that because people say that, well, I'm not lying. I just withheld the truth. I'm like, but that is lying. I'm like, you can call it whatever you want to say, fibbing. Do you want to say do you want a softer word as than lying? That is the same thing that, yeah, because it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's number one. Number two is others' opinions of you is none of your business. Mind your
Mm.
own. Mind your own. It really isn't there. So how many times have you had an opinion of somebody immediately? You're like, oh, wait a minute. And then you questioned it because of something you witnessed or you experienced with them. You have to allow for people to go on that journey to discover is this real? Is my opinion based in fact, or is it fabricated fact, which is fiction?
Right. Right. Yes. And to like not internalize it. Right? Just because like it may be their opinion of something that they saw, and like you don't know what was going on for them as to why they perceived it that way or anything that was going on. But this is the opinion that they have formed, but doesn't necessarily make it true. And therefore you don't need to call yourself that as well.
Well, and I've seen the evidence of not arguing with this when people have made an opinion of me, because I can hear it. I can hear, especially in the workplace. I've spent 25 years in corporate. Listeners are probably going, Eva, you have no experience with this. The reason I came up with these is because I've had hardship. Okay. So when it comes to like, especially workplace, oh, you don't know this person who has so much power and influence. They're in the ear of the CEO. And if I do something that, they don't like, I'm going to be shunned. Are you sure about that? And always the truth will out. Always. I've seen it so many times. I've had so many opportunities in the stories, the ones that are coming up, like, um, there was a woman. I was in a job that was shared between myself and another person. She went on vacation for 2 weeks, and I ended up doing the job better than both of us combined by myself. And in the meantime, she was pushed to another part of the company, which suited her personality better. And then I was taken on that job, and I was running the place like clockwork, making the business more money. And her opinion was well regarded. She was a highly respected person, and she took it as I could have left, I could have, but I chose to stay, and I endured her harsh tones, the criticisms, the this is all Eva's fault comments here and there, like the constant. And it took her a year and a half, and she finally realized she had to go on that journey. And she goes, I owe an apology. I know I can see what you're doing, and it's really good for the company. And I'm really sorry for being so. And she used some explicatives. So it wasn't just mean; it was downright tyrannical. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I've had multiple opportunities to experience the full circle response to, I didn't need to engage with her. I just let my actions speak loudly.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And a friend of mine said once, like, sometimes when you're dealing with people like that, to well, she said kill them, but or just kill them with kindness. Like if you
Yeah.
just respond kindly to them, and therefore their, sort of wrath will have no effect. And eventually people will see them for what they're doing. So like always respond with kindness, and eventually, it may come around to them.
Well, and that can be seen a little bit as phony, because I was given that same advice as a child. Eva, you attract more bees with honey. Well, what are you trying to attract? Like, what are you trying to manipulate a situation? Are you trying, like, what are you trying to do? Because people can see a fake smile. They really can. And it became more of a need for me to not interact with her too closely, other than here are the facts, this is what we're dealing with, and you can deal with this information as you will. And so I kept it very professional, and that seemed to be the key. Because otherwise you then become part of the problem. In um the better way that I would give is to say, I so enjoy opportunities. Hmm. And I do. I so enjoy opportunities to engage and to show where each other has, the interest of the company at hand. And I'm glad you showed up for that conversation. And even if it appeared to be a disagreement, it's better for everybody how it came out. Like, that's a lot of politicking right there. And I'm a Libra, I'm natural at it, but like, it's more authentic, and it's definitely kind. And if it's the truth for you, you can speak it, but use it in your back pocket and go, I'm so glad you showed up for that conversation. If there was an email exchange, went back and forth, and it became viral throughout the company or even online, wow, I'm so glad you showed up for that conversation, because I think it enlightened a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good distinction of what you said. Yeah. Because you can still be kind, right? Even being professional is being kind, right? And I think the whole
Yeah.
point is to, yeah, not react or be as bad as they are, or, like still stand in who you want to be, your authentic self, and deal with it in a kind way, but not necessarily being like fake or overly nice. And like you're saying, that fake smile, people can definitely see it, but yeah, you can still respond in a kind, assertive, respectful way with
Yeah.
anyone.
One that doesn't give away your power to the other person's opinion of you. Because if you shut down, then how are you supposed to, which is the third part, play your part, play your job? Like, what is your role in this? If it were a play of life, if we were all on stage and we were committed to being an actor, what would it be like if people decided to just enable each other and not play their part? It would be a hot mess. We need to hold each other accountable for what we have decided and what we've agreed to be responsible for. And that creates an environment that's, people call me Pollyanna. Go, Eva, you wish for the perfect thing. Well, why not reach for the perfect thing? I think about, I'm a nerd. I love Star Trek. And so if the Enterprise was run in the way that we run our personal lives and business, it would be chaos.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, there has to be some structure,
Yeah,
organization. Yeah. But I think the difference is like, I guess maybe like don't be feel like you're forced to play a role that isn't authentically you.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But we all do play roles in different ways. But yeah, as long as it's sort of aligned with who you are and what you want and that you're happy and comfortable with it,
I think
then
that
it's
is part of the role, exactly as you said, is if we are being who we are authentically without any other interjection, and all of a sudden the contrast gives us opportunity, and we decide to be less than that fullness of who we know we are, we're not playing our part.
yeah, well, this has just been so amazing. Thank you so much. I love your perspective on things and how you speak about things in such different ways than what I've heard before. And I love how we can, kind of talk about the same sort of subjects and yet come at it in different ways because then people can understand it and resonate with it differently. So I really appreciate for you for doing that today, Eva. Thank you. 'Cause we talked about things like how codependence is so incredibly very common and talked about the difference like of someone else's opinion when they say that I think, and how we can maybe let them have their opinion and we can have ours and then how to sort of deal with that, especially if it maybe is coming from a place of temper tantrum or sort of negativity. You can really just step back a little bit, be the observer, right? Be supportive of them, give them space to be where they are and really listen to, and let them have their space, and then we talked about those three basic truths that society seems to have right now that maybe we could start changing. So Eva, tell us where our listeners can find you online.
Sure. Best place is going to be my website, which is theelevateinstitute.com. And there's all kinds of information on there, from a newsletter you can subscribe to a daily little jolt of information I call the apple a day subscription. So you'll see that if you sign up for the newsletter. And it's little tidbits that align with my Ascension program truths. Just like we talked about today, you got a little tidbit of that. But in particular, this work is what was found in what I call the Essential Love program series. And so if all of this resonates, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about this. If you're having difficulty showing up for yourself, I can solve that with you and build that muscle. And so you can find a 20-minute free session at the very bottom of my homepage. It says start here. So start there, click on it, and then select the 20-minute start here opportunity, and we can get on the phone and I will listen to you.
Yes, be heard by somebody. It's so amazing. And I love that the Essential Love program because that kind of what it all boils down to, isn't it? It's like coming from a place of love in all of these different ways. And if we all came from a place of love, and even if we do have these disagreements, but we responded to people with love and from that place of love, this essential love, that um, it would just be such a different world.
Yes, I agree.
And so, do you have any final words of wisdom to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think I say this probably every time I'm asked, because it's so important. Listen to yourself. You're the only one who lives in your skin. And be an advocate, yes, and for sure. And then I add to it based on this conversation. Um, yeah, question everything too. So you're super certain about what you believe in, if if there is a modicum of support for the idea of personal development, spiritual growth, question it. Question everything.
Yes. Question it all. And then yeah, and I love that as sort of feeling to your body and I think you can notice that too, that as as you have these ways and you're giving, this authentic feedback or even like dealing with people with different opinions, see how your body reacts. You do
Yes.
like, but you kind of need to be aware that you even have a reaction in your body. Sometimes we sort of have more of a reaction in our head and we're like, but like what is your body doing? And yeah, really sort of tapping into that. And then you can also like analyze it too, right? Like you're just saying questioning. You can also question, be like, okay, well, that was interesting that I had that response. Where do I think that came from? Or what, and what could I do differently next time? And from there you can really start to transform and grow.
I look forward to that.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on this show. I'm so happy that you were here.
I'm delighted that we had such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically. So please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa, signing off authentically. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically. So please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa, signing off authentically.